What is up, Hawk fans? I'm on my way to go. I have a nice little drive to go officiate some games. I've told you guys that your boy is a high school and college sports official across a few different sports. Today, I'm working water polo, but I wanted to use this time. Hopefully it sounds okay. Doing it in the car is sometimes hit or miss, so hopefully this ends up sounding okay. But I wanted to talk about the latest update with transfer portal quarterback, South Dakota State, formerly South Dakota State transfer Mark Gronowski. It was revealed that he will be having surgery immediately and will be missing the spring portion of practice as far as on the field work. And from what it seems like, although from what I have been able to see, the injury is fairly undisclosed, which, I guess is fair, especially if you do have an NFL future as a quarterback. Maybe you don't want to broadcast it as much. I could be wrong. Maybe it is disclosed. It's just from what I have seen, they just say that it's surgery to repair an injury that he played with during the season. So to that extent, it sounds like it was an injury that he could play through, but it would be advantageous for him to take care of the surgery now. And from a non-Iowa Hawkeye, well, actually, yes, from a non-Iowa Hawkeye perspective, and just a purely individualistic Mark Gronowski perspective, I would want to take care of this injury now as well, as this is my final year before the NFL draft. And it would be a lot more difficult at the end of this upcoming season to take care of it. The injury might get worse. And so, like I said, it is advantageous. From an Iowa perspective, I think you can make the case that it's advantageous as well, given you wanting your players to be as healthy as possible, okay? And I personally, I think I would rather have a 100% healthy Mark Gronowski than an 85%. I would lean towards having this type of situation rather than him playing through it and him potentially being limited, especially if the injury gets any worse. So a lot of Iowa fans, obviously, and rightfully so, are having flashbacks of Cade McNamara, okay? And like I said, it is understandable, okay? Cade McNamara, obviously, pretty much his whole Iowa career was unable to fully immerse himself as the Iowa quarterback because of his injuries. I mean, it always seemed like he was taking at least, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward. He got injured when he first got to Iowa. I can't remember if he had a surgery initially when he was first there. I don't think that that's the case, but I could be wrong. It's hard to remember all these players' injury history. But either way, he got injured during Iowa's season. The guy was out for almost a year. Actually, I do think he was recovering because he played at Michigan and he got benched for J.J. McCarthy. And I do think that he was still recovering when he got to Iowa. So, and then he obviously got injured, whether again or a separate injury during the season. and obviously he was out for a significant portion of his first year and even into the offseason. I mean, he was injured. Cade McNamara was not really even, he wasn't even fully ready to go by his final year at Iowa. Well, his final year at Iowa. So it is understandable that Iowa fans are having flashbacks to Cade McNamara. I don't think that it's the same situation. I do think that Cade McNamara had more of a history, a more recent history of injuries than Mark Gronowski. Mark Gronowski has mostly been healthy during his career. I mean, he's been able to play 4 full seasons. I do believe that he got injured his second year and missed that entire year, but since then has been able to put together full seasons. So it's not as though he has a completely free history of injuries, but I would say more so than not, he has a history of being able to play at the quarterback position. All of this to say, again, it is understandable that Iowa fans are seeing this as a potential red flag and are concerned and having their eyebrows raised about this news. I wasn't initially planning on talking about this because I didn't think that it was necessarily a huge story, but it is developing into a bigger story because, again, Iowa fans are having flashbacks to Cade McNamara. And again, now that I think about it more deeply, I think it is understandable. It definitely is understandable. And I've even seen some posts from people saying, "Oh, yep, this is why Iowa was able to get him because he was damaged goods." You know, I mean, I would not be willing to go that far. Personally, I don't think that it's like that, because there were a lot of teams that were after Mark Gronowski. Make no mistake, okay? If you don't think that a quarterback like Mark Gronowski, who is a proven competitor and literally just finished a full season or 2 back-to-back full seasons as a starting quarterback and has the history that he has as a team, or excuse me, an individual assisting a team, winning 2 FCS championships, and individually having the success that he's had, if you don't think that there are other teams that put a premium on that regardless of this potential injury, you're sadly mistaken, okay? And I do believe Miami was after him. We haven't heard, he kind of kept his recruitment kind of quiet. But I had a few Miami fans commenting on my video, "Man, I wish Miami landed him. Man, I wish Miami landed him." So, you know, that's that. I will also add, Kirk Ferentz said that the medical team fully reviewed his history. I don't put a ton of stock into that because medical teams, especially when it comes to sports, can mold and morph a story into whatever they want in order to convince themselves that a player is okay. We saw that with Cade McNamara. I mean, Cade McNamara had more of an extensive injury history, and Iowa, they felt okay about his history, and the medical team felt okay about his history. So I don't put a lot of stock into that. We have our own 2 eyes. We can logically look through this and use our own God-given logic to analyze the situation. So just to wrap this up, the biggest portion, how much will this impact? Do I think that this is a huge deal? Yada, yada, yada. So it would have been preferable, and I would have loved for Mark Gronowski to have the full offseason to learn Tim Lester's offense, to get and gain cohesion with his team, and learn the playbook, okay? Now, you can also look at it from a glass half full perspective, okay? Number one, with this situation, Brendan Sullivan, Jackson Stratton, and Hank Brown will get more reps, which means that they will be further along when the season comes than they would have otherwise been had he not been injured, okay? So that is a negative a positive in a vacuum. They will be able to get more reps. Now, the other aspect, this is not a positive per se, just merely the facts. A quarterback like Mark Gronowski having a full offseason, this will be his 5th major year of college football having production. I believe it would be his 5th, because I think he had the extra COVID year it would have to be the COOF year. He's either had 4 or 3 years of eligibility. This actually might be his 4th. I do think it's his 4th, and obviously he redshirted because of the injury that he had in his 2nd year. Be that as it may, a quarterback like him that is as skilled and talented as him does not need as much time to learn and become acquainted with his teammates, learn the playbook, and all of the things that are attached to being able to be a part of spring, as a quarterback like, say, Hank Brown, or some of the younger quarterbacks that are still learning the ropes. And he'll still be a part of the team. He'll still be there, okay? For most of it, he'll probably even be able to do like 7-on-7 drills. He'll be able to throw the ball around. And yes, he'll be able to learn the playbook on his own while he is in recovery, okay? And it could be worse, okay? He could be out. It could have been a lot worse. He could have been out like Cade McNamara for pretty much the whole offseason and not have a ton of time to prepare. And then, again, it'll give Brendan Sullivan another opportunity to compete. This is kind of a under-the-radar thing that most people probably would not have thought about. But I said in my previous video that I thought it was a good chance that Brendan Sullivan would transfer out once he saw that Mark Gronowski was going to definitely be the starting quarterback. But now that Mark Gronowski is going to be out for spring, it might give Brendan Sullivan a false idea of optimism as he's getting reps, mostly because Mark Gronowski is not there, and it may keep Brendan Sullivan at Iowa longer than he would have been if he is inclined to transfer, which we have seen in the past that he is willing to transfer if need be. So I understand the red flags. I do. I understand the pessimistic Iowa fans. You guys know that I am the most honest Iowa Hawkeye content creator when it comes to evaluating these situations. Out of a 5, if I had to give like a panic meter on this or a concerned meter, I'd probably give it a 2. It's not great. Again, I would rather have him be a part. I would rather have him be a part of the training than not be a part of the training in a full capacity. But, it could be a lot worse. And in the end, as I said, I do want him to get healthy. I would rather have a 100% Mark Gronowski than an 85%. I want to get, and, for those people who said, well, he's damaged good, no wonder we were able to get him. Okay, well, let's just say that that's true. Wouldn't you want to get the fullness of the money that was put towards him by him being fully healthy than what we got from Cade McNamara, where we got like a quarter or a half of him because he was constantly injured. I would rather have the fullness of him, even if that meant that he missed a portion of the offseason. I would rather have him in his fullness during the regular season than partial, where like Cade McNamara, he when the season starts, he's like 60, 75%, even with the offseason surgery. Okay, lastly, I saw the highlights for Ohio State versus Texas. And I don't know if I've said this before, but to give another player comp for Mark Gronowski, I do think that Will Howard is a solid player comp for Mark Gronowski. They both have really solid size. They're both big-bodied. They're both big guys, standing 6'3", 6'4". They have strong frames for their size. I would say that Mark Gronowski is probably, based on what I see, a little bit better of a natural passer. Will Howard has improved a lot, but he also benefits from being on a team like Ohio State. Obviously Gronowski has not had the same talent. Not that South Dakota State has bad coaches, but Ohio State obviously is Ohio State for a reason. He's had better targets to throw to than Mark Gronowski. I would say Will Howard is probably a little bit better of a natural runner than Mark Gronowski, but it's very close. Athletically, I would put them on par with one another. They're very similar. But I do think Will Howard, at least initially in his career, was more inclined to be a runner than Mark Gronowski on a consistent basis. All right, guys. And I would say, just to compare him to Iowa quarterbacks, I would say Mark Gronowski is probably somewhere between Nate Stanley and C.J. Beathard. He is probably a more explosive runner than C.J. Beathard, but their running style and running advantageously to set up the pass, or to advantageously pick up a first down here or there when it really counts. And I think Mark Gronowski, C.J. Beathard and Nate Stanley both had really good arms. I would say Mark Gronowski, from what I can tell, his arm talent is a little bit less than theirs, but it is close. Okay, he does have really underrated arm talent. But Nate Stanley and C.J. Beathard, it was hard. Those two guys. That's what Ken O'Keefe really looked for in a quarterback, is arm talent. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hopefully this sounds okay. Hope you guys enjoyed me talking about this. If there's any more news, obviously I will have you guys covered. I appreciate all the support. There's been immense support of, I would say, the last month and a half worth of videos. The videos have performed better than ever, and you guys love I can see in the comments, you guys love the content, and I appreciate you guys supporting my perspective. As I always say, I am not attached to any publication. I'm not attached to any website. I am me, and that's all there is to it. And because of that, I'm able to give a full, honest interpretation of everything Iowa sports, because at the end of the day, whatever I say is just me wanting to evaluate in a honest manner my favorite team. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. In fact, our feelings, because your feelings just matter. I love you, Hawk fans. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.